Hi, today we're going to check on our worm bin after our big feeding last time. So we have this blanket right here that keeps the worms nice and moist. So we're going to lift it off and see what we see. Okay, I see a lot of fresh castings right up at the top. Ooh, what's this? Huh, this is the mango pit started to sprout. Look at that. I mean, I'm not going to be growing a mango here, but it's cool that it's starting to come out. Neat. All right, I'm gonna start by fluffing up the old finished castings. The cover I have doesn't cover these, so they stay a little drier. But there's still some worms that like to hang out here. I mostly take any big pieces that isn't broken fully down. I throw it over the right. I make sure that this gets rotated so that it can dry out so that the worms migrate out of here. Basically, I don't want any worms in here so that I can harvest these and use them in my garden. There is a good amount of worms in here today, so I guess a little bit more moist. There's not a lot of food in here, but they'll go wherever it's moist. So I really have to dry it out if I really want to discourage the worms from coming in here. So I just throw the bigger pieces off to the side. Any worms I see, help their migration a little bit. Fluff it up. But yeah, it's feeling quite moist in here, so we probably had a good amount of moisture introduced from the last feeding. So yeah, when you feed a lot, you introduce a lot of moisture in it, which is why we always include the cardboard shredded bedding along with the more food. So let's take a look at the middle of the bin. This should be, yeah, there's a lot more worms in here, and this is the stuff that's been in here for like a month or so. It's usually where this middle bit is. And there's like some worms in, like there's this decently like dense in terms of worms actually, but we won't start seeing a lot until we get all over on this side of the bin. There'll be a lot over here. So we're really just fluffing it up, making sure we get oxygen down, making sure there's not any bad smells in here. Wow, but there are a lot of worms. Wow. I go back and forth. One week I'll do this one, and then the next week I'll do my other worm bin. So it's not too much work any one week. And there's always way more worms in this one, so after doing the other one, I come and check in this one. It always seems like there's so much going on. Right, I'm gonna mound, because there wasn't much like big chunks of food in there. I'm gonna start mounding it up closer to the finished side. So now I can start looking at where we fed 2 weeks ago. So you can see there's like a good number of worms. All right, so here, I lift this up. This is where we find worms. You can see some seeds. Yeah, there's still quite a bit of stuff that needs to be broken down in here. We fed them some dill and some grass clipping, or not grass clippings, but dill clippings and some clippings from the garden last time, so you can see all those in addition to our vegetable scraps. So they still have some left to go, and I guess it was both warmer and more moist because this is the second mango pit that's started to sprout. So you can see this guy coming out. This will break down now, and you can get the worms at it. Look, I got a big worm and a little baby worm. All right, so that the about the right amount of moisture. It smells very nice, sort of like a forest floor, which is good. So we won't add either extra bedding or extra water this time, because the moisture level is good. So we'll just do a normal feeding with a normal. Here's some lettuce. Probably not feed too much. I mean, there's some food left over. I'm not seeing a ton of food left over, but I'm seeing a good amount of bedding. They definitely didn't finish everything we gave them last time. Let's go from there. So we'll start by adding in some new bedding. So once we get this in, we'll pour in a good amount of new bedding. Not too much because there's a bunch in there already. So let's go ahead and add that. And then you can seed the bedding with the right bacteria by mixing some of this in. And then I always add in my coffee directly to the bedding. That in. And then the rest of my kitchen straps from the week. Add those in. Let's put these off to the side for now. And then when there's a lot, what I like to do is put the layer of partially broken down stuff down, just to allow the worms space in between the layers so they can more easily get at all of the food. And then I'm just going to cover it up with the rest of the more fresh stuff. And so now we have the more finished stuff over here, the fresh stuff in this big mound right there. And then I'm going to cover this up to keep the moisture locked in and leave this uncovered to help it dry out and encourage the worms to migrate out. And I will check on my worms again in 2 weeks. I might even be harvesting some of this nice finished worm castings from my garden then. I'll see you then.